Hi, in this video for VTube-STEP, I'm Michael Cohn, and I'm going to show how it is possible now to import a square part that has no fillets in the corners or corner fillets. And so I'm also going to, in this video, clock some of the holes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Collect Control, and we're going to move down to Cylinder Drill Surface like this. And we're going to make this straight one. And I'm going to go ahead and select a few holes. So there's one hole, pushing the shift button. Here's another hole. And the shift button is still down. Okay, I want to hit right click. Now I've just selected 3 cylinder drill surfaces. So there's cylinder drills here in the nth type, okay? Now that's straight 1. Let's go over to straight 2 now. Actually straight 3, because this is straight 2 right here. And I'm going to go ahead and select 3 more. And so now I have a total of 6 cylinder drill surfaces collected. I'm going to rebuild the drill bit bosses. And when you do that, what happens here is you've got constructed features built called drill bit bosses, okay? And they show up this way. And they are separate from the surfaces that were collected. And the goal here is to allow for drilling in an unbent model, for example, if you want, or drilling with these holes where you can subtract solid from the main part if you wanted to, from the main parametric part after unbending. But in this case, we don't need to unbend it. What we need to do is just clock these holes relative to each other, literally get the distances of each of these holes from the end and the distances from the tangent points. So let's go ahead and now find the center line of this part. And this is what's a little bit different in this version. This is version 4.3 build 1582, which has the ability of finding the center of a square with no fillets by selecting what's called straight from line. Okay, now the straight from line collect control was designed so that you could choose a line entity that was already a center. But now with this version, you can select, for example, 2 different lines that oppose each other and find an average. And that's what we're going to do here. That's something that's new as of this build. In order to do that, though, I need to get to a line. And the line needs to be the intersection of these planes. Okay? You can use the same principle if you were importing what's called a corner profile. If you have this kind of situation with no fillet in the corner, then you can get to that corner line. Now, right now I can't select a line, so what I'm going to do is go into select mode. I'm going to try to get to the lines by performing an explode on this particular part. So let me just do this first. Turn all of these collecteds off. And I'm going to turn all of these off because I don't want to do any work on those. I don't want to have any impact. In fact, I'll select the whole thing. And I'm going to go ahead and go to imported model options. And I'm going to explode. Now, at this point, I want to hover over this to see if I can get to a line. And the answer is no, you can't yet. So I'm going to select it again. And I'm going to explode again. So there, I've exploded twice. And now look what I can do. I can get to the lines. Now, in order to see this model more clearly at this point, I'm going to change the color to something that's easier to see, like black. Okay, I'm finished with the model work control, so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to zoom in down here at the end of this part. I'm going to go back to collected features. I'm going to show the collect control, and I'm going to make sure that it says straight from line. And then I'm going to say, yeah, keep adding more center lines, but don't automatically increment the straight number, not in this situation, because I'm going to be selecting 2 lines per straight. So I'm going to find a corner that I want. I'm going to hover over it. I'm going to left click on it. And now because this button or this checkbox was checked on, it's going to ask me to find another one. So I'm going to go to the outside corners that oppose each other. And that's all I need, and that's straight. So let's go to straight number 2 now, and I'm going to change this to 2. Now, if it's not clear what you're selecting here, just right click to get out of this mode, push the mouse wheel down and just orbit around a bit. And now I can see exactly what I need to select in order to make this work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this one of my lines and this the opposing line on the outside for straight 2. So let's go to straight 3 and do the same thing. Good. Okay, now we have enough information to find the center line of this part. So what I need to do now is rebuild the parametrics like this. All right, so now you can see that we have the center line of this part, and using this mode, it won't figure out the diameter of the square, the rectangular piece automatically, but that's not of great significance. We'll go ahead and go into part setup, and we'll change this over to rectangle for the diameter profile setup. And then down here, we're going to experiment with the widths. I know this happens to be a 20 by 20 millimeter rectangular piece, so it's square really. Then you can set your rectangular wall. You can zoom in like this and then make sure that the wall matches up. You basically, you set it like this. So let me just make my rectangular wall too thick, and you'll say, oh, look, it's too thick. And so then you can match it up. You know, just keep changing the values and then hit F2 until it matches up. So I'm just going to look down through the entire part, and you can see that we really do follow the profile of this part very well. Now, I'm going to press F3, and this part is, of course, now set up for the master. You can go into VTube Laser and measure it. But before we do that, I'm going to go into constructed features, and we're going to turn all of these on. And you're going to see these drill bit bosses here. Now, at this point, you could go into reports, and you could look at the whole clocking report, which is a new report template inside this build, and you can see all of the angles and the distances. So an example here would be from end A, if you wanted to put the holes in before you bend the part, you've got 310 millimeters from here to there, and then 620 from here to there, etc. You've got all this information to use to actually drill this part when it's straight. Now, when you do calculate this information along the straights, you might also want to use what's called tube elongation, which will shorten the arcs slightly in order to put the holes in straights that are not straight one a little bit closer to accommodate for elongation. So let's just say that you do an experiment and you find out that this particular tube material in this setup, it elongates by, let's just say 15%. So when you do that, then it's going to completely change the report and the whole clocking report, the distances. So you're going to see the first straight's not going to change because there's no elongation before the first straight. But see this 1538.6? That's changed. So just keep that number in mind. Let me go back into part setup. So 1538.6. We're going to set this to 0. And then we're going to go ahead and go to reports and rebuild this. And now that number is 1576. So you can see there was definitely some elongation that pushed the distances for these 3 holes in this straight closer to the end of the tube because it's trying to, of course, anticipate elongation, which is really important if you're going to be putting the holes in before you bend this part. If you have any questions, let me know. Just send me an email at support@advancedtubular.com. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great day.